Good evening, I'm Hugh Downs, and this is 2020.
On the ABC News Magazine, 2020 with Hugh Downs and Barbara Walters.
Tonight, listen to what's going on in the heart of the United States of America.
I know I got you going on this Jew thing. I'm not going to let you off it either.
Hatred has taken root because of the plight of the American farmer. And apostles of hate are spreading the sickness.
Those who hate our God, Jesus Christ, are before us today. Kill them all. Wipe them out. There's a war coming.
Blood has already been shed. Geraldo Rivera with a major 2020 investigation, The Seeds of Hate. And American women are testing new methods of birth control. One is the implant.
It's basically error-free. You don't have to worry about it. You know it's there.
And after years of research, the long-awaited day-after pill.
It's like a miscarriage.
It's an abortion.
Sylvia Chase reports there is new convenience and new controversy in the new birth control. Also tonight, a celebration of America's 47 million cats.
This is probably unfair to the dog world.
No, it's not. Last winter, 2020 celebrated dogs. Cats took that lying down. But you know how cat owners are.
All my 16 cats are my best friends.
Well, Roger Karras got the message and has discovered why cats have become the pet of the 80s. So tonight, it's equal time for cats. Up front tonight, the seeds of hate and how far the hate is spreading can be seen in this week's headlines. In Idaho on Monday, a leader of a neo-Nazi group, the Aryan Nations Church, was charged with ordering the murder of an informant who had tipped off the FBI to a violent white supremacy splinter group. In Arkansas on Monday, James Ellison, the founder of another white supremacy group, the CSA, which stands for the Covenant, the Sword, and the Arm of the Lord, pled guilty to charges of conspiracy and illegal possession of an automatic weapon. And he is also charged with illegal possession of explosives. Isolated incidents? You're about to see that they are not. 6 months ago, Geraldo Rivera began investigating the state of America's farmers. And along the way, he found links to a new bigotry ready to take advantage of the farmers' distress.
There have always been racist hate groups in this country. Only now they seem more organized, better armed.
Those who hate our God, Jesus Christ, are before us today. Kill them all. Wipe them out. There's a war coming.
A holy war. That's what these preachers of hate predict. For this particular group called the Aryan Nations, it's already more than just crazy talk.
They ain't got a hook nose anymore.
Associates of the Aryan Nations are charged in the murder of a state trooper in Missouri, a $3.5 million armored car heist in California, the assassination of a Jewish talk show host in Colorado.
Let them know where our God is by shedding some blood, because they've shed ours. Revenge the blood.
Related extremist groups have heeded the demagogue's call and have spread terror to other parts of the country as they act on their philosophy of hate. Something is going on. It would be comforting to think it was limited to just a handful of extremist nuts, but it's bigger than that. There's trouble now in the heartland. Rural America is currently undergoing the largest, cruelest dislocation of people since the Great Depression. These days, auction ads line newspaper columns like obituary notices. And sometimes, even ordinarily peaceful, law-abiding farmers find themselves driven by their financial problems and their despair into violence.
You take a farmer that's been bankrupt and been sold out. It don't make difference to him if he's behind bars. He's already lost everything.
Up until recently, the farm protests have carried no particular ideological or political labels, but preachers of hate are trying to change that.
You wonder why you're losing your farms and ranches and businesses out there? Because your minister has lied to you concerning a bunch of international communist Jews that have stripped your wealth and your land from you.
A group of pseudo-ministers preaching the gospel of the radical right have been attempting to parlay this farmer frustration into increased following for their cause.
Number 12. Number 12, the Meyer.
Threatened with the loss of their homes, even their way of life, many farmers now are getting desperate. Under those intense circumstances, sometimes even stupid ideas start making sense. Even the hateful simplicity of the radical right.
Why don't you let me try and make a living? Damn Jews destroyed everything I ever worked for. I've worked my ass off for 49 years and I got nothing to show for it.
As you can hear from this recorded telephone conversation, a Nebraska farmer in financial distress has bought the message of hate.
Who's got the power of the world? Who runs this world? The Jews. My God, I ain't putting up with their now.
Arthur Kirk was a farmer whose back was to the wall breaking from debt. He owed his bank $300,000 and he had absolutely no chance of paying it off. In that sense, I guess his story is typical of that of thousands, perhaps tens of thousands of other farmers here in the heartland. The only difference is his story ended not with an auction, but in a hail of bullets. The confrontation began when sheriff's deputies came to the farm to serve a bank's legal papers on the indebted man. The police say Kirk met them with a drawn, long-barreled revolver.
When he was about 15 feet away from the lieutenant, he took the weapon and pointed right at his head, and he said, if you don't get off this property, I'm going to blank blow your head off.
The deputies retreated. Later that evening, the SWAT team of the Nebraska State Patrol surrounded the house. Kirk was now wanted for resisting arrest. Telephone contact was made, but at about 9:30, the conversations abruptly stopped. According to police reports, Arthur Kirk came running out of the back door of his house wearing combat gear and a crash helmet. He was allegedly carrying a gas mask and an illegal machine gun. The police say he ignored an order to freeze and instead opened fire. The SWAT team returned the fire, and Arthur Kirk fell approximately here, mortally wounded. When police searched the Kirk farm, they found the arsenal he had stashed there. 27 weapons, including an illegal automatic. Perhaps even more ominously, the cops also found a collection of racist literature. From the weapons and from Kirk's recorded telephone conversations, it became apparent that the distraught man saw the fight between him and his bank as part of a larger struggle.
There's a big move on to try and subvert the Constitution, change the whole thing. Communism, that isn't communism, it's Judaism. Rockefeller and all the big shots running the whole damn thing.
He was upset with the bankers, yes. And he was upset with the Jews, yes.
Dolores Kirk is Art's widow.
Some of the statements that I read, don't you see how a person outside of the Kirk farm might see those things as radical statements, as prejudiced, bigoted things to say?
And when you attain the knowledge and you find out what is really behind this clandestine plan that is moving across this wonderful country, it's very scary and it's very frightening.
Mrs. Kirk believes, as her husband did, that the farm crisis is no accident. The real story she's come to believe is that a small clique of Jewish bankers is somehow manipulating the market in an effort to grab all the farmland for themselves.
Do you think that you were one victim among many of the same conspiracy?
Yes, I do.
It's absurd. It's like some cartoon nightmare. But in the months that followed Kirk's death, we found more and more farmers beginning to believe a conspiracy existed. This was a farm protest in northeast Nebraska. The black armbands are in Art Kirk's memory.
Because they're going to do it to all of you sooner or later. They're after your land. And if you don't got that idea yet, then I don't know what else is going to convince you.
In Minnesota, we found one of the men who taught Art Kirk to hate.
Now, most of you noticed the black band that I'm wearing tonight over my shoulder. That's for Arthur Kirk.
His name is Rick Elliott, and he makes his living selling bankrupt farmers do-it-yourself lawsuits they can use to slow down the foreclosure process. Like all good speakers, he first loosened up the audience with a joke.
And the first you boys said, yeah, Goldberg, Greenberg, Iceberg, what the hell's the difference?
Across the Farm Belt over the last couple of years, Elliott has been attracting ever larger crowds. And he's just one minor apostle of the radical credo that so possessed Arthur Kirk. The movement even has its own lending library, and many sensible people these days are distressed by a disturbing parallel.
I could never understand how what happened over in Germany 50 years ago happened among intelligent, civilized people. And when I saw this sort of thinking among people who lived in my area, that gave me kind of a sinking feeling in my stomach. But
Sam Van Pelt is a retired state judge, asked by Nebraska's governor to investigate Arthur Kirk's death. Although that investigation is completed, Judge Van Pelt has pursued what he sees as a spreading sickness, infecting farmers in trouble.
Scapegoating, blaming all of his problems on either the bankers or the lawyers or the Jews or some sort of an international conspiracy, that really bothers me. I just hate to see that sort of thing happening in this country.
Is that sentiment, are those feelings on the increase?
I think it is. From the literature that I'm getting and from the crowds that I understand some of these organizations are drawing, I don't think there's any question about it.
So from the testimony of experts and from the other evidence collected, it became clear to us that the obsession of Arthur Kirk was not an isolated individual case. He had become part of a spreading movement, and you're about to see who and what are behind it.
Under indictment tonight are 23 members of a militant and violent neo-Nazi group called the Order.
Militant extremists armed and dangerous. Desperate farmers groping for answers and instead grasping hateful ideas. At first, the farmers on the one hand and the militants on the other seemed like separate stories. Our 2020 investigation reveals they are actually different branches of the same story, joined at its base by a little-known religious sect. One of the first firm clues of that religious link came during offhand remarks made during a jailhouse interview given by a member of the Aryan Nations group. Gary Yarborough was explaining to reporters why he thought the FBI was out to get him.
Well, they knew that I had been associated with quite a few people in the Christian identity movement. We intend to establish God's law as our government.
Christian identity, a little-known religious sect, is the key to the spreading violence and the bigotry of the radical right. Christian identity is the link between such geographically separate groups as the Aryan Nations based in Idaho, the Posse Comitatus from Wisconsin, and the Covenant, Sword, and the Arm of the Lord, the CSA in Arkansas, and others. Simply put, identity is a religion of hate.
For it is God's will that he is going to separate and bring forth a new nobility who is going to defeat the mongrel hordes of the Antichrist Jewry.
Identity's main tactic is the distortion and perversion of the Holy Scriptures to find a justification for white supremacy and for anti-Semitic bigotry. If Hitler had a religion, this one would have been perfect for him.
Patrick Henry said, "Give me liberty or give me death." Well, we're changed that now. We're going to keep our liberty and give them death.
Former Army Colonel Bill Gale, Richard Butler of Aryan Nations, and Jim Wickstrom of the Posse are the inspirational leaders of the identity movement. Jim Ellison of the CSA could be called its sergeant-at-arms. The arsenal uncovered after the FBI laid siege to his Ozark encampment provided sobering evidence of the kind of firepower the movement can muster. In addition, the weapons apparently proved that the various groups are joined by more than just a shared philosophy. The CSA, for example, allegedly made illegal automatic weapons for the other groups. 2 of the illegal guns made at the CSA found their way into the hands of convicted cop killer Richard Snell.
Got out of my van, and I shot Officer Bryan twice from the hip.
Snell is a follower of an identity sect most people have never heard of, called Elohim City. Associated with the CSA, they're based in an encampment on the Oklahoma-Arkansas border, just as the CSA did before they were busted. This group also claims it is not heavily armed.
We heard that you had similar kinds of armaments here.
Yeah, well, there's lots of rumors about things like that, but we don't have anything that's illegal as far as we know at all.
The spokesman insisted this was a peaceful identity community. But 5 minutes into the tour, overlooking the commune entrance, in a rack obviously designed to hold many more weapons, a semi-automatic rifle and clip stood at the ready.
Just for deer, right?
Despite his denials, this is apparently a very well-armed encampment. Oklahoma lawmen have seen 7 of the Mini-14 semi-automatic weapons brandished by commune members at one time, while a federal agent told us informants claim the group also has heavy weapons, courtesy of the CSA. So guns, a malignant philosophy, and a religion of hate now bind the groups of the radical right, and that infection is spreading here to the troubled heartland.
I'm looking for the truth and why someone would want me, a farmer, off the land. Why does someone else want to control me this way?
As the Nazi leaders did a half-century ago, the identity ministers of today are taking advantage of people's despair. Our investigation led us to one of their recruits, Nebraska farmer Dan Hawkins. We found him through this picture in the Omaha World Herald, carrying a sign protesting the shooting of Arthur Kirk. Hawkins introduced me to several more identity recruits. Farmers like himself who were in financial distress.
Laverne Mite. That's Kenneth Martin.
Out here among farmers, identity is still very much an underground movement, not spoken of easily or with outsiders. Getting in out of the gray and windy Nebraska day, these otherwise ordinary, hard-working people agreed to tell me how they became identity converts.
I read an ad in a grass and grain paper, if you had some financial problems, to call this one certain number.
The number led them directly to Identity Minister Jim Wickstrom. It was 1981. Soon Wickstrom would be broadcasting his sermons over a powerful Kansas radio station.
You are the true lost sheep of the house of Israel, and America is the new Jerusalem, and if there's anyone else in this congregation besides an Anglo-Saxon Caucasian, hit the door because the law isn't for you.
Wickstrom taped some of his sermons with home video equipment. It was a meeting like this one that Dan Hawkins and his friends attended.
Who goes to synagogues? Who owns your false money system? Who's perpetrating against you? Who owns all the junk food mills that's killing you with poisons? Who says they're God's chosen people? And they're not.
I sat there in that Legion Club, and when Jim Wickstrom talked that afternoon, I said, yeah, that is the answer. That is what is wrong with this country.
Did it change your life?
Yes, it did. Very much so.
I know I got you going on this Jew thing. I'm not going to let you off it either. Because by the time you leave here, you're going to finally realize that you're the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
That's Identity's credo, that white Anglo-Saxons are God's chosen people, while the Jews are the devil's children.
And what do you think?
Well, their big share of what he's talking about is the truth.
These Yehudi, these children of darkness who have taken not only over our country, but they create war to kill our sons.
This is how the seeds of hate are planted.
In my opinion, a Zionist Jew is pure evil. And yes, they have designs on my farm, my neighbor's farm. They have designs on the whole earth.
Again, I stress these are ordinary, hard-working people. That's the danger of identity. It takes the burden of bigotry off the believer because it pretends the Bible says it's so. Hawkins and his friends are absolutely convinced of it. More than that, they believe they'll one day have to fight for it.
Would you be willing to take up arms?
When the time comes, yes. Yes. There would be no problem at all.
They are not alone.
A farmer came in here the other day and he bought two of these semi-automatic 9mm Heckler & Koch rifles.
Randy Engelken is a Kansas gun dealer who sold weapons legally to Identity members in his state, Nebraska, and Missouri.
He said everybody else was buying them, and he didn't want to be the only one caught short when things happen. There is something wrong, or people wouldn't be buying these weapons and this large amount of ammunition like they're buying. And they are. They're out there purchasing this stuff.
Remember, these are not armed extremists in some isolated encampment. These are mainstream farmers, and according to local and federal lawmen and members of the Identity movement themselves, even the farmers are stockpiling vast amounts of weapons. One undercover informant summed it up this way.
If they do decide to get real violent, let me assure you they've got you outgunned by a long, long ways.
What some observers fear is a kind of perverse holy war, an armed uprising of radical farmers, following the paranoid fantasies of the Identity cult.
Everything's set up against you, and the Battle of Armageddon is the United States of America.
Jim Wickstrom, the high priest of this unholy war, was in jail when we tried to reach him. But we went to his Identity church in Wisconsin to talk with the Identity minister Wickstrom left in charge. This is Pastor Dave Morotic.
Do you believe in and agree with Jim Wickstrom and his teachings?
Yes, I do.
Do you consider, for instance, the CSA as your allies, or at least people who believe as you
Of
do?
like mind? Definitely.
Who else? The Aryan nations?
Aryan nations,
The KKK?
well, I don't know that much about the KKK. I would say, yeah.
What you know you like?
What I know I like.
How about the neo-Nazis?
Well, I'm not saying that what Hitler represented, okay, was totally right. I agree with him as far as maybe his removal of the Jews, because the Jews were removed in many lands.
Do you agree with Hitler's Jewish policy, his elimination of the Jews?
No, I didn't say his elimination of them, did I? That's the father's job, not my job.
And the Holocaust never happened. He never killed them.
No, he probably killed more you want to call it Christian people or people of Europe, than he did the Jews.
Look at this picture.
Mm-hmm.
Look at it. There, hold it.
Mm-hmm.
What are those? What are those? Those are dead Jewish people.
Are you sure?
Okay.
Are you sure? This is garbage as far as I'm concerned, okay? This is a mere pittance.
You're saying that this is garbage? The picture of the corpses from Buchenwald is garbage?
So maybe it happened, maybe it didn't. And I'm not saying there were 6 million Jews. I don't believe it ever happened. They didn't kill 6 million Jews. No way. Maybe a couple of them got eliminated. And you know what? What I like is that the other races or Christian people or whatever have you, they sit here and they gobble that up daily. I think that's great. If they're so gullible to suck up that garbage every day, fine. And then I'm a racist and I'm a Nazi or whatever. I don't really give a good rip.
You are a racist.
Fine, I love it. I love it. Because I stand for Jesus Christ, and I stand for the white race, if you want to call it, and I also stand for the other races.
I think Jesus Christ would be appalled by what you stand for.
Fine.
You can be shocked or angered by Dave Morotic, but please don't forget a melancholy reality. Thousands of farmers in financial trouble are starting to believe his sick philosophy. The vast majority of troubled farmers do not, but many do. And it's a vivid measure of just how bad the family farm crisis has become.
How much money do you owe, Dave?
We owe approximately $1 million on 300 acres.
Any chance of
Our
paying it off?
situation economically is hopeless.
Dave Schnelly and his family of 5 are losing their farm. The bank is in the process of foreclosing. He is bitter, despondent, and he accepts the identity line.
Anyone that doesn't accept Jesus Christ as our Savior is the enemy.
So do you include all non-Christians then as the enemy?
I think in the Bible teaching it does go into that. You're either Christ or Antichrist. You're either a follower or against him.
The current tragedy down on America's family farm is being compounded. It's being made that much worse by a growing, frightening harvest of hate. When the sheriff comes to take away the Schnelly family farm, as he surely will, perhaps Dave will be able to draw some small comfort from his strong, sincere, but ultimately sick belief that it was all somebody else's fault. After a lot of pain and suffering, the financial crisis out here should pass. But the soul of America's heartland may prove harder to heal.
Add stopping the ministers of hate to all the other, more compassionate reasons we should be helping America's family farmers.
Who got in there? Bring those gearbox there, oil.
Geraldo, this is shocking and frightening and terribly depressing, to say the least. How widespread is this?
These are underground organizations, obviously, so it's very, very difficult to tell. The old-line organizations that keep watch of these radical groups, like Klan Watch, etc., say there are 7,000 to 9,000 Klan members, but with the identity movement, they're not as sure. They say perhaps from 2,000 to 5,000 hardcore members. Of course, the sympathizers number in the tens of thousands.
The killings and hatred over the years in the name of God.
So sad. It's so sad. More people are killed in God's name by Muslim extremists and Christian extremists and Jewish extremists and every other kind of extremist. I mean, if only God could say, wait a minute, count me out of this.
I know you don't have the answer, but what can be done about something like this?
If there was something like a Vatican II council that Pope John the 23rd had, maybe getting religious leaders of all persuasions together and saying, we won't tolerate this.
And even more quickly, newspaper articles, television editorials, so that there is more light shed on this, because if not, it really, without exaggeration, is terrifying.
There's a cancer in the soul of the country. It has to be stopped.
Thank you, Geraldo.
Well, next, testing a new birth control pill for women to take after intercourse. It's being tested now. And so is a birth control drug, especially implanted for time-release action. Sylvia Chase reports the new birth control right after this.
When you start something good, everyone wants a piece of it. Drink light beer from Miller. Now there's lots of light beers out there saying they're less filling. Heck, that was the easy part. The hard part is brewing a light beer that tastes great. That's why Light's always brewed only with the finest ingredients. To let all that great beer taste come through for guys like you and me. The taste that's made light beer from Miller, America's favorite light beer.
Hey, I always thought it was easy opening cans.
Listen,
It's Sears' biggest Nike shoe sale of the year. Now through Saturday.
Sounds good.
Score savings on Nike leather high tops now $28.95.
Sounds good.
Nike Aerobatex really stretch your budget. Nike leather low cuts are lower still.
Sounds good.
And at $17.95, the whole family saves on running shoes.
There's more for your life.
Save through Saturday.
Sounds great at Sears.
Chewy, 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 puppy chow is chewy. Chewy morsels give the puppy good things to chew. Chewy, 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 puppy chow is chewy. Now you're chewing puppy chow like you ought to do. Chewy morsels is a tender blend of pieces. Chewy morsels give the puppy good things to chew.
Puppies love to chew, so Purina Puppy Chow brand puppy food introduces Chewy Morsels with all the extra nutrition puppies need.
Chewy morsels give the puppy good things to chew.
Pick up dust. That's all I thought no wax sprays did. But then I tried new Duster Plus. Duster Plus contains no wax. It picks up dust plus stuff that's mixed in with it. Look, smears, smudges, rings, even spill marks come right up. Now that's dusting. If your house is like mine, there's more in your dust than just dust. So try new Duster Plus. It's wax-free, and Duster Plus picks up more than just dust.
A new birth control pill for after intercourse and a birth control drug that's implanted in the arm. American women are now testing these methods. Sylvia Chase reports the new birth control when 2020 continues.
Sunday at 8, 7 Central. From a distant galaxy comes America's greatest hero.
Excuse me.
In the movie that started it all, Marlon Brando, Gene Hackman, and Christopher Reeve as Superman.
Any more at home like you?
You'll love it.
Benson takes a trip to Las Vegas tomorrow night at 8 on KVIA-TV, Channel 7.
I started my delivery business against heavy competition. I fought them in the streets. And here, in the one and only Southwestern Bell Yellow Pages. This helped me win more business and get reinforcements. Then I put in a more aggressive ad and advanced in the competition's territory with heavier equipment. If you're going to beat the competition, you got to outflank them here and get out your big gun.
The one and only Southwestern Bell Yellow Pages, because nobody's in business to grow smaller.
Is your gasoline used in the EPA 50,000-mile test conducted by all 4 U.S. automakers? For every gasoline except one, the answer is no. For Chevron, it's yes.
These days, if you say the word abortion, you get a hot argument, and people on the sidelines with plenty of free advice. Abortion is wrong. Abortion is right. You're right. And just last month, the Reagan administration asked the Supreme Court to reconsider the landmark 1973 ruling Roe versus Wade, which legalized abortion nationwide. But because of new forms of birth control now being tested, abortion, as we know it, could become a thing of the past. Sylvia Chase tells us why this is so.
Ours is an age in which affection and passion are freely expressed. There is an almost universal expectation of romantic fulfillment, but the consequences can be sobering, for they are often unintended. As Benjamin Franklin said, there is no convenient time for childbirth, death, or taxes. Still, when it comes to childbirth, most people try to exercise some control.
And we do have effective methods of contraception. The pill and the IUD currently are very effective. Unfortunately, women won't use them because they're afraid about the side effects. It's an unnecessary fear, but it does occur.
But doubts about contraceptive safety persist, in part because of ongoing lawsuits which receive a lot of media attention. Loretta Tetuan won $9 million because her IUD caused pelvic inflammatory disease. Carol McDonald claimed birth control pills caused her stroke, and she won $1.6 million from the manufacturer. Mary Maheifer used contraceptive gel, which she says failed, and caused her daughter's birth defects. The court awarded her $5.1 million. And even though Suzanne O'Toole chose sterilization, the most popular method of birth control, she sued when she got pregnant 1 year after the supposedly permanent operation. All 4 court decisions may be appealed.
Problem is that people do not use birth control efficiently and effectively. And it's unfortunate that certain groups of people who are at the greatest risk are the people who tend not to use birth control. Teenagers, low-income women, unwed women, women for whom an unintended pregnancy may be a disaster, both financially and personally and psychologically.
The search for perfect birth control continues. And here at Los Angeles County USC Medical Center, they're testing a new class of contraceptive. Hundreds of women volunteered for clinical research on the implant. Promised to be effective, convenient, reversible, and so far, relatively safe.
So I figure I have some time left.
For research purposes, all the patients were married women who, for their own reasons, wanted to try this new birth control method.
Well, I chose the method because I had a diaphragm. It worked great in the drawer. And then I tried the pill, but that had problems too because I always forgot to take it. So I'd go through several month periods wondering whether or not I was safe or not. And that's why I chose the method. It's basically error-free. You don't have to worry about it. You know it's there.
I have 5 children. I have 5 grandchildren with number 6 on the way. And it's time I dedicated some time to the grandchildren and to the 2 that I still have at home, instead of worrying about another baby in diapers.
The implant study is the responsibility of Dr. Daniel Michel.
It's a minor surgical procedure. It takes place in an outpatient clinic setting, in an office, doctor's office, and the procedure takes between 5 and 10 minutes.
Implants are small cylindrical pieces of rubber that contain progestin, a synthetic hormone. Once in place, the chemical slowly diffuses into the bloodstream and functions like birth control pills to prevent pregnancy.
But they don't hurt, and after you have them in, there's only just a little bit of bruising around the area, and that's it. And the bruise only lasts for about a week.
This implant, called Norplant, has been tested on 14,000 women in 14 countries since 1966. It's on the market in Sweden and Finland, but not yet here in the United States. However, research results are being presented to the FDA, and it could be available here within a year. In testing, implants have proved superior to all other temporary methods of birth control for many reasons. It provides a constant low hormone dosage, so you can set it and forget it until you want to become pregnant.
We eventually plan on having children, but right now we're both very career-oriented, and we're just not ready to have children yet. For us, this is the perfect method. When I get them removed in 3 to 4 years, the chances of my becoming pregnant are much higher than with the IUD or the pill or other methods. So for us, it's really nice. We don't want any surprise babies coming along.
In the eyes of the patients and the researchers, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages.
There's no estrogen in the capsules, and that leads to a major side effect that a lot of women have to understand, that there's a high instance of irregular menstrual bleeding.
For the first 2 years, I had a period every other month. It was a positive side effect for me.
Only women involved in the study can use the implant, but 36 million American women use some other form of birth control. Despite their efforts, though, there are at least 3 million unplanned pregnancies each year. For women choosing to terminate such pregnancies, there is now the prospect of abortion without surgery. Research is in progress at USC on a new chemical compound called RU-486. It is an anti-progesterone. Progesterone is a female hormone that nurtures the fertilized egg.
What this compound does is block the action of progesterone on the lining of the womb. Even though it's being made by the pregnancy, it's not there to maintain the pregnancy, and a menstrual-like bleeding does occur, which is in essence really a miscarriage.
It's an abortion, isn't it?
That's the term that's used. It's an abortion. The pregnancy is already implanted, it's in place, and this compound is taken, and the pregnancy is terminated. But it's done medically, not surgically. 1 pill a day for a week.
It was like a miscarriage.
Approximately 50 women who were considering terminating pregnancies have participated in the study so far.
The therapeutic abortion with the instruments, I've had that before, and it was very painful for me. And that's why I chose to try this.
What happened? Did your birth control method fail?
No, I was not even on birth control.
RU486 was developed in France. It's been inappropriately dubbed a day-after pill, but its purpose is not to be taken the day after. It can be taken up to 8 weeks into the pregnancy. Theoretically, RU486 could one day be used monthly to either prevent or discontinue pregnancy. For now, it is only being tested to terminate pregnancy. For some women who have been through a surgical abortion, RU486 could be a more appealing alternative.
I guess making that appointment to go to the hospital and going into it's like an operating room or on the table, and you have to be in a gown, and then the stirrups, and you're sort of dazed out, and the sound of the instruments, the suction cups, and the metal clanking. To me, this other way with the RU486, you could just carry on your daily routine.
The pills, you're more at ease. It's like taking an aspirin, you know, and you didn't feel anything.
That's just what Judy Brown is worried about. She's president of the American Life Lobby, and she thinks RU486 will make it too easy for a woman to choose abortion.
I think that from a conscious point of view and conscience within a female, that it might be much easier for her, conscience-wise, to chemically abort her child than to have it surgically removed from her. But never before has science come forward and said, we are designing chemicals that will kill. And now we're to a point in our society with abortion where we can begin to discuss chemical abortion.
I can't say how the right to life people feel. I mean, they feel that way, fine. Nothing against that. But I would hate to see it to go and not be, you know, accepted as another method for a woman to choose.
You'd expect the Right to Life movement to oppose this new chemical abortion. But the prospect of that worry-free implant that we talked about earlier in this report has forced the Right to Life movement to deal with an old issue, birth control. For years, their opposition to almost all forms of contraception has received scant attention. But they do oppose contraception, and for a very fundamental reason. Sexual permissiveness, the right to have sex, has so much overwhelmed our society. And birth control is at the core of that desire of our society to be sexually permissive.
Dr. Luella Klein is the former president of the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists. She's also their expert on unintended pregnancy.
The problem is that it's much safer to use a birth control pill or other contraceptives than to use nothing and suffer the complications or death due to pregnancy, which accompanies the use of no birth control.
To summarize the argument, let's take a look at these amazing pictures. Fiber optic film of the reproductive process. Once a month, a mature egg is expelled from the female ovary. Then it may be fertilized by a male sperm and travel down to implant in the uterus lining. Most fertilized eggs, though, just pass out of the body naturally. That's why, according to accepted medical definition, implantation, not fertilization, is the beginning of pregnancy. Hormonal contraceptives interrupt this process. First, they inhibit ovulation, the production of eggs, but not 100% of the time, so they also make it difficult for sperm to travel. And they render the lining of the uterus unfriendly to fertilized eggs. Thus, the medical community says birth control prevents pregnancy. No implantation, no pregnancy. The Right to Life movement, though, says life begins at fertilization. To Right to Life people, whether it's chemical abortion, like RU486, or birth control agents, like Norplant, it's all the same thing. Therefore, these new advances in birth control may force Right to Life leaders to reorder priorities and to defend their answer to the question, when does life begin?
Certainly not a question we're going to be able to answer tonight, Sylvia, but three things come to mind as I watch this. The first, I mean, all of this is new to me, but what amazed me was that the biggest form of contraception for women is sterilization.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah,
And
so final.
The statistics indicate, though, that about a third of the people who have it
are unhappy afterwards. There's so much divorce and remarriage, you see, that's not particularly... It's such a final solution.
It's a irrevocable decision.
So here we have a reversible system.
Yeah. What about that mark on the arm? Is that so everybody now knows you're taking birth control pills if you have that implant?
Well, yes.
Not taking them, but having the implant put in.
Yeah, they're experimenting with another form, which is rice-sized pellets, and it goes right here in the forearm, and they don't show at all. They're working on perfecting that. They have different ways of installing it.
Finally, what about a birth control pill for men?
The Chinese are looking into it, but it's at least 10 years away.
If indeed men will ever really take it consistently. Such an interesting report. Thank you, Sylvia.
Well, next, why are there 47 million cats living in America? Well, because the little beasties are a lot of things to a lot of people. Dog lovers take cover. Because Roger Karras gives equal time for cats. Right after this.
August Best Buys, just in time for school.
School? This clamp-on lamp goes anywhere for just $3.99.
It'll light up your study area.
Study? The smartest digital alarm clock is $6.99, but with a $5 rebate, the actual cost is only $1.99.
Now we won't miss the school bus.
School bus. The snack pack backpack with an insulated lunchbox is just $7.44.
Lunch here, homework here.
Homework!
Ace is the place.
So what? Want to join? Join a health club? Learn pain?
Ah, this gets the kinks out.
It's happier with the kinks in.
Relax.
2 more things to try. Like what? Lounge and Lowenbrow. Great.
The beer will pour, must say something more right now.
I think I'll just join the lounge.
Tonight, let it be Lowenbrow.
你兄弟咧，全部知道晒藍色咁嘅威力。The city, New York. The place, Chinatown. The Godfather, Joey Ty. The cop, Stanley White. 2 men about to go to war. Year of the Dragon, rated R. Starts Friday. Check newspapers for a theater near you.
A lot of long-distance companies would like you to think they're just like AT&T, but take a closer look and see how different they really are. No operator service, no immediate credit for wrong numbers, and no service from many small towns. Only one long-distance company gives you full service, only AT&T. Sometimes there's just no substitute for the real thing. AT&T, the more you hear, the better we sound. AT&T, the right choice.
There was a time when you wouldn't walk down Beale Street after dark. Now, it's a showplace.
Good night.
Thanks in part to a plastic developed by Phillips Petroleum called Riton. The Riton reflector in these lights spreads light more evenly over a wider area. And that's brightened things for everyone on Beale Street. That's performance. From Phillips Petroleum, you'll find performance in everything we make.
Did you know Joe Namath has joined O.J. and me on ABC's Monday Night Football?
Did you also know he threw 220 career interceptions?
No.
Oh, I should have been a defensive back.
Well, why, O.J.? Then you couldn't have 62 career fumbles. He did that? Yep. ABC's Monday Night Football. Join us.
It's a whole new ball game.
The stories we present on 2020 are selected for a lot of different reasons. Until tonight, providing equal time has never been one of them. But last winter, Roger Karras paid tribute to dogs on TV. We got mail, and Roger was accosted at airports by cat owners who claim that cats, not dogs, are the pet of the 80s. So now, in accordance with our Federal Communications Commission Code, Section K9, here is equal time for cats.
We Americans tend to take our cats somewhat seriously, all 47 million of them. As a matter of fact, non-cat owners may find cat shows with champagne breakfasts and violinists a little, well, excessive. Of course, such critics don't have a very well-developed historical perspective. As a matter of fact, they may not know that the cat is the pet of the decade. Their numbers go up every year.
Give Mommy a kiss. Come on, give Mommy a kiss.
Oh, I'm so happy.
The man-cat partnership started in Egypt 4,000 years ago. The record is now in museums like the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston and the Metropolitan Museum in New York. As these 3,200-year-old wall paintings show, the Egyptians began storing grain, and that meant rats and mice eager to share it with them. For control, the Egyptians invented the ultimate mousetrap, the domestic cat. They captured North African wildcats and bred them to suit their needs. The cat next appears in the record as a household fixture. The Egyptians had a tradition of reverence for cats. The goddess Sekhmet had a woman's body and a lion's head. The Sphinx had a lion's body and a human head. The new symbol of magical power was Bastet, and thousands of figures were cast in her image. This is how she appeared to the faithful.
Cats were mummified just as people were and then buried in sacred ground. These two were strangled in a ritual temple offering and then mummified.
The cord with which this cat was executed is revealed in this X-ray taken thousands of years after the fact. After the passing of Egypt's glory, cats remained an important figure in world art, although styles did change. In the 1400s, von Kalmbach painted the cat on a wooden panel. An unknown Flemish artist painted this cat around 1500. In 1863, Manet's painting of the nude Olympia included a black cat. The painting was a cornerstone of French Impressionism. Renoir followed 20 years later with this exquisite portrait of a young woman with a cat. In that same period, Steinlein painted one cat portrait after another. Morris Hirschfeld painted naive cats. And Picasso, in the early 40s, saw his cats through the eyes of a cubist. And then fantasy took over. Felix was the first motion picture cartoon personality to take on a character of his own. And in the 1920s, 20 years before people on TV sets, he became part of the first test pattern, and therefore one of the very first TV stars.
Well, he's a fat cat, a cool cat, nobody's fool cat, but look out, 'cause here comes Garfield.
Today's big news in Fantasyland is, without question, Garfield, the invention of cartoonist Jim Davis. 26 people come to work every morning in Muncie, Indiana, where both Jim Davis and Garfield were born, to design yet more products to add to the more than 4,000 already on the market.
We started paying attention to this vast, untapped market, this ocean of cat lovers who came out of the closets, who came out of the cracks in the floors, that came from everywhere, and started announcing proudly their love for cats. And that, given the fact that in many cities there are now more stringent laws on pets, making it easier to own a cat as opposed to a dog, I suppose, and the fact that it was no longer a feminine thing to do to own and love a cat, that men felt freer to own cats and express their affection for them. All of those combined, I think, lent to what we call a cat chic.
Remember Morris? He died in 1978. This is Morris II.
I must be dreaming.
But cats like Morris and Felix and Garfield are the make-believe side of cat adoration. Reality resumes in hospitals like this one in Philadelphia, where dogs and frogs and other beasts never tread. Cats only for Dr. Susan McDonough and her staff.
Well, I like the way that cats react with people. They're not, this is probably unfair to the dog world, but they're not so subservient to humans as some dogs seem to be. They interact with their humans more on an equal basis, I think. Take it or leave it kind of attitude. We probably here at the cat hospital have more than 50 cat owners who have more than 50 cats. And they tend to remain as anonymous as possible, as low-key as possible, and their lives really do revolve around their cats.
50 people with 50 cats each? That's a lot of kitty litter. Elizabeth Kalani has a veritable herd of cats, 16 in all.
All my 16 cats are my best friends.
Former opera singer Ellen Weiss has 10 exotic Rex cats in her Fifth Avenue apartment.
They're very playful, they're very lovable, very affectionate.
I just feel that they're part of my life. I feel they need me and I need them. It's a give and take thing.
Cats are really a mix of myth and reality. Somewhere in between lies the truth.
Cat society. Wild cats, except lions, is solitary. No packs of cats. In our homes, they do their best to be sociable as they can be. Of course, each cat is his own master, ultimately. Can cats be trained? Well, there are no watch cats or sheep-herding cats, but they are fastidious and accommodate themselves to our way of life. They'll accept a limited amount of training as long as they set the limits. Are cats loyal? Well, if love is loyalty, cats are indeed loyal friends. Occasionally. How about allergies? Some people react to cats with an itch and a scratch. That's because cats wash themselves. Their saliva sticks to their fur, and the dander bothers the unlucky ones. Are cats and dogs natural enemies? Well, these are two of my pets. You decide. As for 9 lives and bad luck and witchcraft, if you believe those tales, beware of ladders, broken mirrors, and don't leave home without a rabbit's foot.
Power is an interesting footnote to our catalog of feline fantasies. For some reason, men who have wanted to conquer the world have hated cats. Alexander the Great absolutely despised them, and so did Napoleon, and not at all surprisingly, Hitler as well. Very often, but not inevitably, captains of industry have felt pretty much the same way. Reason? Simple enough. Cats will not be dominated or controlled. For 4,000 years, we wondered about cats and tried to capture something of their beauty in our homes, our everyday lives, and even in as unexpected a cultural event as a Broadway musical. The show, of course, the sellout hit Cats. It is based on the work of British poet T.S. Eliot. Lines like these. For some are sane, and some are mad, and some are good, and some are bad, and some are better, some are worse, but all may be described in verse. This is not warfare, it's simply kittens at play. And if you really watch, cats have things to tell us in their body language. Buzz off. I like you. I love you. I need you. Things are cool. And mellow out. Everything from hello to good night.
I know this is equal time for cats, and I'm not going to get involved in that, except you do know that I have a dog I adore because you helped me get that dog. How come you never hear a cat being called man's best friend?
Dogs are overtly manipulative.
Manipulative?
Cats are secretly manipulative. After all, dogs have been around for about 15,000 years, longer than cats. So what you have is that dog is man's best friend.
Mm-hmm.
But man is cat's best friend.
Profound. And Roger Karras, who is a lovely man, loves them both equally, as we can see for that. Thank you, Roger.
Thank you, Alma.
We'll be right back.
Over the years, we've watched old number 51 retire a lot of ball carriers, but tonight we're going to retire him. So let's do it his way. Turn over those wine glasses and bring on the Lowenbrow.
Just remember, if you guys start messing up, I'm coming back. Let it be Lowenbrow. You work hard for your money, and we're working too. Giving it all, making breakfast for you at McDonald's.
You work hard for your money, so nobody gives you those great tasting deals at breakfast like McDonald's.
It's a good time. Don't do it all for your money. For the great taste of McDonald's.
Summer's drawing to a close. Time to save on kids' fall clothes. One day only at Sears. Save 25% on sweaters, jeans, cords, tops, outerwear, dresses, underwear, socks. Save one day only, Saturday. Don't miss the bus. Hurry into Sears, where kids' fall stuff is 25% off for just one day. Don't miss the bus. There's more for your life. Saturday only at Sears.
Dole protein juice bars aren't just for fun, they're for real.
Well, it's real, real fruit, and it's real, real juice, and it's real, real cool. Dole juice bar. What a refreshing way to eat fruit. Juice bar. Moms like it, dads like it, kids like it, and fools like it. What a refreshing way to eat fruit. Juice bar.
The McKays, a family with a proud tradition of law enforcement. Frank McKay, a tough cop with his own set of rules.
Give me a read. Put me on suspension.
Why? Because I don't have time to worry about breaking rules.
Our Family Honor, Tuesdays this fall on ABC. I remembered that you had a dog and that Roger Karras had helped you get it when I was watching his piece on cats. And, but didn't you have a cat once when I first knew you? You never did.
No. Do you? Are you a cat lover?
Neither, really. I'm
what are you?
A gorilla lover.
You have one in the bathtub or something?
I fell in love with Coco. It's a little unhandy to have one around the house,
yeah.
as you know.
You remember last year I went on a safari, and I know you're about to go on vacation. Well, you know you can go and be with the gorilla, but do you know you have to book the gorilla in advance because there aren't that many of them, and if you want to sit with the gorilla and the gorilla's busy, you know, you have to make a reservation?
Even just to chat?
Whatever. Chat, take his pictures, that's funny.
There are very few of them. That is true. Well, I'll see you. I'm going to go to the Mediterranean Sea, and I'll be gone 3 weeks. I'll see you sometime after I get back.
We will miss you. You'll be having a wonderful time.
I know you won't.
Tune us in the Med. We're very big in the Mediterranean.
Okay. Thank you, Barbara.
Have a happy vacation.
Thanks much. Well, now here's Ted Koppel with a word about tonight's Nightline.
Hugh, today South Africa's president delivered his vision of his country's future, but will it lay the groundwork for peace or even greater turmoil? We'll talk with black leaders and with a white conservative, all in South Africa.
That's Nightline, following your local news. And that's 2020 for tonight. We're in touch, so you be in touch. I'm Hugh Downs.
And I'm Barbara Walters.
For all of us at 2020, good night.
For transcript of tonight's broadcast, send $3 to Journal Graphics, Box 2020, Ansonia Station, New York, New York, 10023. This has been the ABC News Magazine 2020.
Don't drink and drive. A public service message from ABC.
El Paso police investigate charges of sexual assault against children as young as 2 attending a local daycare center.
And another El Paso recall of a possibly dangerous cheese product. News 7 is next.
Don't look now, but your car might be trying to tell you something, like it's time to move on. Yes, move on to a new Buick. Timing's great. Right now, your El Paso Las Cruces Buick dealers clearing out their new 85 Buicks to make room for incoming models. But keep it under your hood, because when the word gets out, everyone will be wanting one.
One of M-Bank's most important benefits is safety. It means your money is safe, and it will be there when you need it. Now, that may not be true everywhere else. This bank has seen competitors come and go. Not one has matched our lead in supporting El Paso's growth. Our strength has endured for 104 years. That's experience you can rely on.
At M-Bank, strength, stability, and safety are all part of our momentum. Get it working for you.
Patience. That's what struck me the most learning about Coors beer. From the malting to the brewing, aging,
the whole process. They never hurry. It takes about twice as long to make Coors as it does any other major beer. Yeah, they do take their time. But you can taste the difference right here. A beer that's a little less heavy, never bitter, but with all the spirit and patience of a great beer. Coors is the one.
Buy a brush or a bunch, a bulb or a chandelier, a 2x4 or a 104. It all costs less at Cashway.
Enjoy an outdoor barbecue with this kettle grill, just $39.92. Don't forget the Aero Charcoal, 10 pounds, $1.88. Keep cool with this 12-inch 3-speed oscillating fan, only $18.84.
Every shelf of every aisle is filled with savings every day of the week.
I'm Leon Metz, and this is Mill Street looking downtown. You can almost see Clint Eastwood throwing back his poncho and challenging the bad guys.
We've got it.
From KVIA-TV, the communications leader in El Paso, this is News 7.
Good evening, I'm Gary Warner. Thank you for joining us tonight on News 7.
And I'm Kim Lamb. Two former preschool teachers are